Isreal Adesanya is better than Alex Pereira. And now that the Chama time is over, let's talk about it. Okay? Let's have a conversation. Welcome to episode 36. It's been a while, but listen, I'm going to get into it. I have so many things have been happening in the world of MMA. I actually feel like I am not on top of my game because I haven't had the time to really sit down to process some things while I've had some time to process some other stuff. So let's talk about the stuff that I've had a little bit of time to process. So today we are going to be talking about, let's talk about Jon Jones and Tom Aspinall. And we'll talk about it because that's something that is still in the news, apparently. We're going to talk about Alex Pereira's loss to Magomed Ankalaev. We're going to talk about Alexander Volkanovski versus Diego Lopez. I'm going to also share my thoughts on Michael Chandler versus Paddy Pimblett. I'm going to share my thoughts on Ruff versus King Green. I'm going to share my thoughts on Jalen Turner's retirement at the tender age of 29. I am going to talk about potential return of Nate Diaz to the UFC. And I'm going to talk about the UFC's potential broadcasting deal with Netflix. And what else? I'm going to share my thoughts on the potential for exciting fights in the UFC, right? Okay, so first things first, let's dig a little bit into Alexander Volkanovski versus Diego Lopez. Now, this fight obviously became something worth talking about because Ilya, as you guys know, or you might have been, if you haven't heard in the news, Ilya Topuria has vacated the 145 division. He wants to move up to the 155 division and obtain the belt at lightweight, meaning he wants to fight Islam Makhachev. However, the problem is this: pick a number on the line, Ilya. Pick a number on the line because there are other people who are out there that want to fight Islam Makhachev and deserve to fight Islam Makhachev before you do. I could argue that Arman Tsarukyan is one person that deserves to fight Islam Makhachev before Ilya Topuria. I could definitely argue that Justin Gaethje as well, considering his win over Rafael Fiziev the second time, is a very strong contender to fight Islam Makhachev, and for several reasons, right? One of which is that Gaethje was a former interim champion. Gaethje is number 3 on the light heavyweight rankings. Gaethje just had a win. Gaethje hasn't fought Islam, and he's a true 155er. So Islam doesn't have that excuse of he doesn't want to fight a smaller dude, right? These are all things that must happen before Ilya Topuria fights Islam Makhachev. In fact, if anything, I think Ilya Topuria should fight Charles Oliveira, or he should fight Arman Tsarukyan if he wants to get a shot at the belt at lightweight. However, when all the shenanigans are happening at lightweight, it leaves the featherweight division open, and then you have Diego Lopez versus Alexander Volkanovski. And quite frankly, I think Volk should have a clear shot at getting that belt. However, You know, and I say that because, no disrespect to Diego Lopez, I just think Volk has more experience. I think Volk is a more measured fighter, he's more technical. And I think that Volk has shown time and time again that he can handle fighters who are way bigger than him. And the bit of a big difference between Volkanovski, weight difference and size difference and reach difference between Volkanovski and Diego Lopez. But if there's anybody who can get that job done, it's Volkanovski. I mean, he fought Max, who was taller and longer than he was. He's fought Brian Ortega, same thing, one Max 3 times, one Brian Ortega once. And then, most other people that Volk fights are, you know, taller and bigger than him. He hung in there with Islam Makhachev twice. So it would be a good one. However, can his chin withstand, can Volk's chin withstand Diego's power and Diego's aggression, especially in the first 2 rounds? Can Alexander Volkanovski do that? I don't know. We'll wait to see. My money and preference will be on Volkanovski. However, if Diego Lopez does win that fight, I'd be very happy for him, because that would be this, it will be a crowning achievement in a very delicious underdog story. So, and I love my underdog stories, right? Nobody usually expects underdogs to win, but when they do, it's always like a beautiful rocky moment, right? However, there's also the story on the other side with Alexander Volkanovski, you know, being the former champ, coming back to reclaim his belt. But I would have really loved to see Volkanovski versus Ilia Topuria one more time. I really would have loved to. In fact, I think if Ilia ever gets that belt at 145 and at 155, and Volkanovski remains champion at 145, I think Volk should move up and try one more time for double champ status, and it should be against Ilia Topuria. But Ilia will be bigger then, so who knows what that's going to look like. Anyway, transition. Let us go to Paddy Pimblett versus Michael Chandler. The first thing I'm thinking about when I heard about that fight is, how on earth did this fight materialize? Like, where did this come from? Who thought about this? Why is Chandler fighting Paddy Pimblett, who is much lower in the rankings than he is? What does that do for his championship run or championship aspirations? By fighting a guy who is behind him in the rankings. Is he doing this for the money because Paddy Pimblett is a big enough name? Is he doing it for the challenge because he thinks Paddy is such a spectacular fighter, or does he just want to take Paddy's O? I don't know. I've tried to wrap my head around what is Michael Chandler's motivation for fighting Paddy Pimblett. Does Michael want to just get back in the W and get back in the win column and put himself strategically positioned for a title run? I don't know if that, I don't know. I have no idea how that works. I don't know what the logic behind it is. Try to wrap my head around it and it's not really making a lot of sense. But maybe he's looking for a fairly easy fight. I don't know. I have no idea. In fact, if I had to pick somebody in the lightweight division to fight Michael Chandler at this point, I think Arman Tsarukyan would have been, again, a great contender to have fought Michael Chandler. But Chandler seems to think this Paddy fight is good, because to me, the Paddy Pimblett versus Michael Chandler fight only favors Paddy Pimblett. Because if Paddy loses, you sort of have inbuilt excuses already, right? That Michael Chandler was just too much of competition for him. And if he wins Michael Chandler, you could argue that Chandler really hasn't done much in the UFC since he's been there, even though he has exciting fights all the time. So the person with the W on this one, or the person with a better advantage, is Paddy Pimblett. He really is. It's nobody else. Paddy the Baddy is the one who has sort of all the balls in his court. And I don't know how to quite feel about that. I don't know if that's a good thing. I really don't. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think Paddy gets it? Do you think Paddy deserves it? Do you think Chandler should not have given him that kind of chance? What are we looking at? Guys, talk to me in the comment section. Let me know what you guys think. I would love to really hear it, right? Anyway, I wish them the best of luck. I hope it's a 5-round banger. If it is not, and it's a 3-round banger, it's still good for both of them. Exciting fight. I didn't see it coming, but hey, I'm not saying no. I am not saying no to that fight. That would be a good one. Because Chandler is one of those guys that, regardless of who he's fighting, you know it's going to be a banger every single time he gets in the octagon. Ask the fight with Justin Gaethje, look at the fight with Dustin Poirier, look at the fight with Dan Hooker, look at the fight with Tony Ferguson, look at the fight with Charles Oliveira. Every time Chandler gets in there, it's a bloodbath. And I like that about him. I respect that about him, right? The only thing he may have done wrong since he's coming to the UFC, I was waiting for Conor McGregor for 2 years. Well, we'll get into that. I've talked about that so many times in the past. Get that out the way, and let's keep other things going. Okay? Good luck to both men, by the way. Let's see what we got here. Ruffy versus Bobby Green. And no disrespect to Bobby, but I can't call Bobby King Green after being knocked out like that. And I am a huge Bobby. Okay, I'm gonna interchange between Bobby and King, just in the interest of fairness. I am a huge Bobby Green and King Green fan. Huge. Right? I like his fight style. I like his movement. He's crisp, he's sharp, right? But he may have overrated his reflexes and probably even Ruffy's fight style. Because Ruffy and that spinning back wheel kick, it was art. It was beautiful. Did you guys see that in slow motion? When I saw that, that's one of the reasons why. I was like, I freaking love this sport. For stuff like that, I freaking love this sport. It is spectacular when you have those kinds of moments, right? Those kind of holy moments. As Dana says, I sell holy moments. This was one of them. Because Ruffy maxed that behind a left feint and then spun around, and that leg just completely decimated Bobby. Cracked Bobby in the head, and Mr. Green went to sleep. The King slept. That's what happened. Respect after the fight, but man, I actually think that might be the best spinning wheel kick knockout now in UFC history. And I know a lot of people would argue that Edson Barbosa did it first. That's not what we're talking about. We're gonna argue. Some people are gonna say Edson Barbosa's was better. Probably, but the fact that you have those two kicks in the same conversation tells you just how damn good Ruffy's was against Bobby. So nice. Oh, it was so nice. I know it happened a little bit of a while ago, and some of you might have forgotten because you guys have short-term memories. But man, when I tell you, I really enjoyed it. It was a blessed moment. It was nice. Right, I got off my seat, guys. I got up, I was like, yo, that was great. That was good. And these fighting nerd guys, Kai Boravio, Prates, Ruffy, where did these guys come the hell out from? And what's the other one who's fighting Bryce Mitchell? I forgot his name. I saw him at the press conference for UFC 314, and the dude was antagonizing Bryce Mitchell, obviously, because of Bryce Mitchell's, the flack Bryce Mitchell has been getting in the press in the last couple of weeks, right? And I know a lot of people don't like Bryce Mitchell at this point, especially with everything he said. I think Bryce Mitchell at his core is a good dude. I really think so. I don't know why he's getting this much flack. Y'all are a bunch of softies. He said what he said. He has the freedom and the right to say what he said. And he's dealing with the consequences, which is what I always say. Let people talk and just allow them deal with the consequences. Don't cancel them because they just speak. I don't get it. I don't understand this whole cancel culture crap and shenanigans. Let him speak. But understand, with the freedom of speech, there is a very, very big responsibility, and the responsibility to take the consequences of your speech, right? But anyway, back to the fighting nerd dudes. Where they come out from? Where? That gym just came out, that squad came out in UFC's MMA in the last year or so, out of nowhere. They're pretty good. But we're still yet to see them shine. They're up and coming. But we're yet to see them shine as an established MMA gym or clique. And I can't wait to see what they have in stock, right? Love it. I love it. Congratulations to Ruffy for that one. Congratulations to King Green too. I don't know why I just said that. Transitioning. Okay. What do we have here? Nate Diaz, potential return to MMA. Why? Why is Nate returning? What's he planning to achieve? You know what I'm saying? What's he plan to achieve? I think if Nate needs to come back for anything, and it should not be a belt, the one thing I think Nate and Conor should do is come back and just give us that trilogy fight. Nate Diaz versus Conor McGregor 3 will be bigger than Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall. There, I said it. Yep. I really think so. I think that's the only thing Nate can come back for. Nate can't come back for a belt run. He's not that good. I'm sorry, I love him. His stock is always up, even when he loses. He's an exciting fighter, but he's not at this age. His movement is not the same. It's not the same guy. It's not the same aggression, not the same hunger, right? I don't know that he can fight for the belt or go on a title run. I just don't see it. I don't see it. But if you tell us that Nate is coming back to fight Conor for that last fight in the trilogy, which I think should also be Conor's comeback fight, if I'm being quite honest, it will be glorious. In fact, throw in the BMF belt for that. For real. Throw in the BMF belt if Nate Diaz is going to come back to fight Conor McGregor. Throw in the BMF belt. Make it a novelty. BMF retirement, something. Find something, Dana. Uncle Dana, do something. Mitch, Hunter, Campbell, Sean Shelby. You guys find some way to find some kind of title for that fight, because it's very deserving. It's a very deserving fight. It has the potential to be as big as Khabib versus Conor. It really does. If you don't do the marketing well, cause some scandal in between, leading up to the fight, you've got yourself a gold mine right there. But besides that, I don't think I'm eager to see Nate return to the UFC. I don't know. That's just me. And that goes for Nick too. Nick Diaz. I'm not excited to see Nick Diaz return to the UFC, especially after his fight with Robbie Lawler and how that turned out, and then, you know, all the things that he's been going through as expressed by his good friend Jake Shields, and even just really what we saw online, I think Nick should retire, in my personal opinion, but it's not my place to tell fighters to retire. However, when you start to think about certain things happening to you, certain things happening in your life, I can see how retirement can start to look appealing to some. You know? I can see it. But Nate, on the other hand, Nate is still young enough to go maybe about three more fights within a 2-year window. But after that, that's also it for him. Don't think he should do it. Right? Who's excited? I mean, again, it's Nate Diaz. We're all fans of Nate, but I don't know if we are excited that Nate is coming back to fight. Am I wrong for that one? If I am, please let me know. And if I'm wrong, I want to take this opportunity to apologize to absolutely nobody. Mr. TDC says whatever the F he wants. That's my poor corner impersonation. Jalen Turner goes out there and gets stopped in the first round of his last fight, and then calls it quits from the sport. Now, after his fight with, and I think this goes back to his fight, this whole retirement thought and process goes back to Jalen's fight with King Green again, ironically, where there was a lot of controversy in how he finished King Green, and a lot of people thought that some of the follow-up punches were unnecessary, right? Because King was already sort of out. And because of all the backlash that Jalen Green got for those actions, in his next fight with Renato Moicano, aka Show Me the Money Moicano, Jalen Turner had Moicano almost finished, but didn't go in to completely win and stop Moicano. And then Moicano makes a fantastic comeback in the fight and wins Jalen. And Jalen just went into this mental free fall, I would say. Jalen went into a mental free fall, an emotional free fall, where he couldn't really recover from that loss mentally. Right? And I saw him talk about it on the Jackson podcast, and he gave good reasons, in my personal opinion, as to why. And I didn't see Jalen come back to fight for a very, very, very long time. And then he finally comes back, and I'm thinking to myself, hey, maybe Jalen Turner, you know, for the 155 division, he's 6'3", he's pretty big for 155. Maybe it's time for him to come back and really put some lights out, just to help himself get back into the swing of things. And then he comes and he gets submitted in the first round. Yeah, that does something to you. That does something to you. And I heard his reasons for the retirement. Far be it from me to justify or not justify how a fighter feels, but I agree with Dana White a lot of times when he says, when a fighter starts to talk about the R word, retirement, when fighters start to talk about those words, yeah, it might be time to just literally let them go. It might be time. It might be time. Think about it. It might be time. Let him go. Don't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Because if you don't have the mindset, apart from the body, another very important aspect of MMA or fighting as a whole is the mindset. In fact, I could apply that principle into a lot of things outside of fighting. Just the idea of hustling or struggling. it first starts in the mind. Sex, it starts in the mind. So many things start up here, in the mind. And if this is not right, the rest of it is not right. You know? The rest of it is not right. And Jalen Turner felt within himself that he is not mentally right. He's not in the right frame of mind to continue a career in fighting. And we must respect that. We must respect that. We must take him at his word, and we must wish him the best. Not this backlash. He was getting some backlash and flack, and I'm like, why? Why are we so fickle? The casuals. You know? Why are we so fickle? Why do we want these guys to fight forever? And we're not in their bodies. You know? It just makes me wonder. Anyway, a little bit of a transition. Jalen, first and foremost, I wish you the best. I hope that you find an endeavor that fills your heart with desire and passion as much as it did when you started fighting. And I hope you make a lot of money from it. Okay? Now, let's talk about this UFC's potential new deal with Netflix. Potentially. It's not announced. This is allegedly hearing these rumors that the UFC may have Netflix as its next broadcasting partner outside of ESPN. Because their ESPN contract expires at the end of this year, 2025. And it's been very shaky, this broadcasting relationship with ESPN, right? A lot of times, and this is not the first time this is happening, but it happened apparently it happened a lot at UFC 3. It happened a lot at UFC 313. Was it just me, or did my broadcast break like 50 times during the entire card? I mean, I'd had to log out, I'd log back in, switch my TV on, switch it off, switch off the Wi-Fi, put it back in, all through. And I'm glad to know when I saw online that it wasn't just me, because I really thought maybe there was something acting up with my Wi-Fi. And the UFC, apparently it was an issue with ESPN and the broadcasting. So now UFC may consider some other broadcasting partner. However, the UFC wants, I think they said it was $1 billion in broadcasting rights every year, and they want to handle the pay-per-view structure to be the same way, which Netflix apparently is kicking against. Netflix wants an all-in-one package. And I don't know. I don't know the details. I'm not there. This is just what I've read. However, it might be a good deal for Netflix, because if UFC moves to Netflix, trust me, that's going to get a lot of subscribers. A ton of subscribers for Netflix, right? And plus, also, Netflix has started sort of venturing into the realm of live sports broadcasting. They did it with the Jake Paul and Mike Tyson shenanigans, you know. But then some of these streaming services like Amazon as well have started doing the same thing. Amazon I think they have rights to One Championship, and they've broadcasted a lot of One Championship fights. If the UFC can get it done with Netflix, I think that would be a good one. That would be a good one. And I'm quite frankly, I'm tired of paying the 85 plus taxes. I would rather just do a Netflix one-time subscription and know that that is the direction that we're all going in. Yeah, that's what I'd do. I'd love that a lot. Okay? If they do get it done, kudos to Uncle Dana. There's really nothing that the UFC cannot do at this point when it comes to like TV rights. It's MMA is such a dynamic, growing international sport. So dynamic. And I think Netflix wants to have a piece of that action, as anybody would. Who knows? Let's see how it goes. Uncle Dana will keep us posted on that one. Really have nothing else to say on that. Now, transition to Jon Jones. So, let's transition a little bit here. It's March 2025, and we are yet to see or get an announcement for a date between Jon Jones and Tom Aspinall. I'm hearing since last year, about November last year, that Jon Jones and Tom Aspinall will happen. But we've not heard anything else. Uncle Dana said at the 313 post-fight press conference that he's very, very, very sure that Jon Jones and Aspinall will fight, and it will be in the summer of 2025. But there's no announcement now. You would think a fight that big, you need at least 2 months to announce it and give it the time to stew and marinate for us, the casuals, to get ready for that fight. Nothing. Chips and crickets. And why? Well, rumor has it that Jon Jones is asking for a ton of money, and I know Joe Rogan first brought up the figure, $30 million. Dana came later to deny it. But it's still coming out there that that's what Jones wants for the fight with Tom Aspinall. And I think it's justified that he wants that much. One, he's Jon Jones. Big name, he's done great things. You could argue right now that Jon Jones is the greatest heavyweight fighter to have done it. Considering his accolades at light heavyweight, and he's gone up to heavyweight, and he's crushed through two former title holders. He's run through Stipe. Actually, let me rephrase that. Jon Jones has beaten at least three heavyweight title holders. He's beaten Cyril Gane in spectacular fashion in quick time. He had the shoulder injury, went in there after the shoulder injury against Stipe, completely decimated Stipe, and then he beat Daniel Cormier twice, even though it was at light heavyweight, but it's still Daniel Cormier, aka DC, aka the champ, and the only man who has held a belt simultaneously in light heavyweight and the heavyweight division of the UFC. DC is the only one who's done that. There hasn't been a double champ, heavyweight champ, or double champ, lightweight champ in UFC. The only person holding that is DC. And Jon Jones beat him twice. So if Jon Jones is going to put his entire legacy on this up and coming, really dynamic fighter called Tom Aspinall, this young bull who can wrestle, this young bull who has great fight IQ, this young bull who has speed, this young bull who has power, this young bull who can strike, this young bull who is not scared, and this young bull who is hungry to come and make a name from Jon Jones. And with this potentially being Jon Jones's final fight, what the hell are we talking about? Pay that man the money. Pay him the money. You know that fight is going to make a lot of money. That's the truth. And you're not paying Tom Aspinall that kind of money either. Right? I don't think the UFC is going to pay Tom Aspinall up to $1 million. Let's just say $1 million, maybe $2 million. Right? But Jon Jones has his guaranteed $30 plus pay-per-view points. Why not? Why not? Why not? Because some things is not about money, right? For instance, the what's it called? Notche UFC, with everything the UFC spent for that event, I don't know how much money they may have come out to say that they made from that event compared to what they spent. Two, the UFC has very strategic partnership with the Saudis. So the Saudis can actually provide all the money the UFC needs because the Saudis are so rich they don't know what to do with their money. That's why they're going into boxing. That's why they're going into sports. They just have that kind of money. So it's doable. I mean, these guys almost were in talks to have Jon Jones versus Francis Ngannou in a crossover PFL UFC event, if that's what they would have taken. So they definitely have the money to back the UFC in paying Jon Jones $30 million for a Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall fight. So what's the holdup? Listen, Uncle Dana, some things are worth it. To have Jon sign off with $30 million to ride into the sunset, it's not a bad thing. You're going to have that fight and the money that is made on the night of the fight, the PPVs, the merch, the gate. You're going to have money from all social media. Every time you post clips of that fight on YouTube, you're going to get paid in perpetuity. So in the long run, you're going to make more than $30 million off this fight for Jon Jones himself. Give the man his $30 million. There's nothing wrong with that. Don't know why this has to be an issue. Why the fans want it. Why does this have to be something that just needs to be consistently dragged for no reason? Okay, we've waited long enough. We want to see action. Plus, don't waste away Tom Aspinall's career. This is not a Conor McGregor, Michael Chandler kind of situation. This is Jon Jones. Jon actually does want to fight. He's very busy wanting to fight. So give it to him. Uncle Dana. Uncle Dana, you know I love you. You're my man. But on this one, I think all of us casuals, all of us fans, all of us technical dudes, we are adamant. We're adamant about you making this fight happen for us. You know, every now and then do one for us. This fight needs to happen so we can close this chapter and move on to other things, because again, this is just killing the momentum in the heavyweight division, and I've been complaining about this for about 5 years now. I've been complaining about the heavyweight division for about 5 years. Can we have some momentum in that division? Otherwise, you guys should just scrap it. Which I know you wouldn't, but you know, you get my drift. You get my damn drift. Okay? And that's all I'm going to say about that. Last, but certainly not least, Alex Pereira has lost his belt. Is anybody out there surprised that Alex Pereira lost his belt to Magomed Ankalaev, aka Big Ank? That's what we're calling him now. He said, Ankalaev said we should call him Big Ank. So I'm calling him Big Ank. I'm respecting his wishes. Right? Is anyone surprised that Alex lost that fight? In my personal opinion, I think Magomed Ankalaev should have fought Alex Pereira 2 fights ago. I really think so. But the UFC knew this was going to happen. They knew. But they were going to give it a shot anyway. There could be an off chance. There's a puncher's chance that Alex could come out of it. But of course not. There's no puncher's chance in there. I told I remember doing a video some time ago, and I said, if I was Magomed Ankalaev's coach, I would completely discourage him from all that stuff he was saying about standing in front of Alex Pereira and trading punches, which he did, by the way. But I was very adamant in saying that not only should he stand and trade, he should throw everything, including the kitchen sink, in that fight. In essence, he should grapple, bite his ear, pull his pants down, everything in the book, of course, everything in the book that is legal. Throw everything in there. How can you know that this man's strong suit is striking and you want to strike with him? Then you know that his kryptonite is when he grapples, and then you don't want to grapple with him. You mix it up, which, quite frankly, Ankalaev did. However, there was something I noticed, right? And maybe that was the only time I noticed it with Alex's fighting style. Alex Pereira comes out and is very, very measured. He's very measured. He doesn't come out and just throw punches and if you know, his kicks. Even his leg kicks, it's like it's reserved. It's like a little tap. It's tap. It's like he's tapping, but it hurts, but it's like he's tapping. He has his hands out, extending, controlling the distance. He moves back. He's hoping you will come forward so he can counter punch, right? He's hoping for that to happen. And for the most part, it works, because a lot of guys were afraid of his power. But ever notice that whenever he got reckless, he gets slept? Do I need to say Izzy? Or let me just save Isreal Adesanya's name in this conversation for later in the conversation, because I'm going to talk about that. But every time Alex comes forward and he's reckless, he pays for it. Because I don't know that that chin is properly tested. Everybody who is fought, they usually just, it's Yuri's awkward style twice. Jamal Hill was being very careful, didn't want to stand and trade with him. Khalil Roundtree had so much disadvantage in standing and striking with Alex because, one, Alex is taller and bigger than him. And then two, Alex is Alex is a better kickboxer. That's Alex's zone. That is his sweet spot. And you want to stand and trade with him? Look at Khalil's face. That said everything you needed to know, right? But then you throw in Magomed Ankalaev, who's striking and wrestling. And Alex did not have anything. In fact, when Alex won that fight with the fight to win the light heavyweight belt against Jan Blachowicz, one of the things I noticed, quite frankly, I didn't think Alex won that fight, if you ask me. Quite frankly. This is just my personal opinion. I think Alex won the fight with Yuri, Alex won the two fights with Yuri, the fight with Jamal Hill and Khalil Roundtree. Alex won that hands down. And the first fight with Izzy in MMA, which, you know, the whole controversy with Mark Goddard, but let's keep that aside. When have you guys ever seen Alex Pereira bite down on his mouth guard and went into a war? I have never seen it. It's always too measured. And then you be so measured for 4 rounds, you lose all 4 rounds to Big Ank, and then you want to now come in the 5th round to try to see if you could knock him out. But you should have been trying to knock him out from the 2nd round. You don't be measured. Well, I guess he doesn't trust his chin, whatever the case is. I don't know. But the Chandler train is over. It was painful to watch. It was painful to watch. Because believe it or not, I'm not eager to see a championship reign of Magomed Ankalaev. I think Magomed doesn't have star presence. He doesn't have the it factor, because you have to have that. He doesn't really speak English as well. You have to have that. He doesn't know how to work the crowd, doesn't know how to work the mic, doesn't know how to work interviews, you know? So we're gonna be in for a very boring light heavyweight reign in Magomed Ankalaev, aka Big Ank. Now, don't get me wrong, his Twitter is on fire. Thank you, Ali Abdulaziz. We know that is you. And listen, I have to admit, Ankalaev's Twitter is on fire. Social media posts are on fire, the comments. But besides that, Ankalaev just doesn't have it outside of the octagon, the charisma. He doesn't have the suave of a champion, right? Maybe in the octagon he would. I don't know. And quite frankly, I don't even think Alex Pereira deserves a rematch. However, being a predominantly fairly dominant champion, I guess the UFC is just going to do that. Also because, you know, there's big money for Big Ank if he rematches against Pereira. Personally, I would not have given that to Pereira. I think Pereira should have fought. Okay, I know this sounds stupid, but Pereira has fought Jiri Prochazka twice. Jiri just won his last fight, and Alex just won his last fight. Right? Jiri just won his last fight, and Alex just lost his last fight. So, and Jiri wants to fight Alex Pereira, regardless of whether or not Alex Pereira is still the light heavyweight champion. Why not put them together? Let them fight, right? And then when they fight, we get to see the outcome of the third time. I know the argument can be made that, you know, Alex knocked him out twice, so there's no point. Okay, listen, I get it. Even if Jiri wins, it will be 2-1 in Alex's favor in the trilogy, and Alex still won that trilogy. But I'd love to see that. I would love to see Alex versus Jiri Prochazka. For real. I don't know what that looks like. Especially because Alex just lost, and because he lost, I'm hoping he will improve. He will learn from the loss. And Jiri also, when he lost to Alex the second time, he actually improved very well with his footwork and his head movement. So it's a different version of Jiri Prochazka that Alex will be facing. Does that sound fair? I hope it does. You know, I really hope it does. And I'm so glad I'm not hearing all this talk about Alex Pereira moving up to fight Jon Jones, Alex Pereira and Jones, the super fight. No, I'm tired of it. Let's stop all that. There's no super fight to be had right there, right now with Alex Pereira. And speaking of super fights, let's transition. Let's transition. I knew Alex was going to lose. Actually, I'm not transitioning yet. I knew Alex was going to lose, but it's something I need to point out. I wanted to say, I wanted to glaze on Isreal Adesanya once again. When I tell you guys that Isreal Adesanya is better than Alex Pereira, this is why I say so, and this is what I mean. Alex Pereira in the UFC has had, became double champ, right? First in the, he's a 2-division champion in the light heavyweight division, and he also won the middleweight division. In the middleweight division, he fought once, won Isreal by stoppage, and then fought the second time and got flatlined by Izzy. Flatlined. He moves up to light heavyweight because he can't really make the weight cut as much. He moves up to light heavyweight, fights with Jan Blachowicz, and manages to get the belt. I say manages because I thought Alex didn't do enough to win that belt in the first place. That's why I never really believed on the hype train of Alex Pereira. And I was a bit sold, but I was not 100% sold, guys. And this fight with Magomed Ankalaev proves my point. So then Alex goes in there, he fights Jiri Prochazka off an injury, wins. He fights Jamal Hill off an injury, wins. He fights Jiri Prochazka again. wins, and then he fights Khalil Roundtree, who was ranked number 8, and then wins. Fights Magomedov Ankalaev and loses. Let me tell you why Izzy is better. You see that fight with Isreal Adesanya and Kevin Gastelum? Tell me when you saw an Alex Pereira fight like that. When did you see an Alex Pereira fight that was that exciting? When did you see Alex Pereira test his attrition? Where? Where have you ever seen that? I never saw it. I never saw Alex test his attrition. Because sometimes it's not about the skill set. Sometimes it's not about what's at stake. Sometimes it's just a war of attrition. And I love to see fights like that. Alex doesn't have a fight like that. And you learn from fights like that. They either make or break you. Alex doesn't have that kind of fight. He doesn't. Look at Jamal Hill and Glover. When Jamal got that belt, that's a fight. Look at Glover and Yuri. When Yuri won the belt from Glover, that's a fight. Listen, how damn good is Glover Teixeira? That Glover at that age was putting these boys through the bleachers for them to be able to win him. Right? Think about that for a little bit. Go back to Isreal Stylebender Adesanya. Izzy came in and in quick succession got to the belt. Look at how Izzy won the belt. The way Izzy won the belt from Whitaker was more spectacular than the way Alex won the belt from Izzy or won the belt from, won the belt from Jan Blachowicz. It was, guys. I know you don't agree with this, but it was. Izzy's win over Robert was more spectacular, especially considering who Robert Whitaker was at the time. The fanfare of that particular show was the biggest gate, I believe, in UFC history at the time in Australia. Come on now. Come on. Let me give our boy some props. Yes, he's not at the top of the game anymore. He's not in the title run, but let's give our boy some props, please. Right? Then think about this. Israel pretty much won every real contender in his division. My man started lapping the division again. Right? You are such a dominant champ that you have to lap the division. There's nothing else. And even in that, Izzy attempted to go up to still fight because there was nobody else in his division. He didn't come out successful, but A for trying. Right? And then, how dominant was Izzy's reign compared? How many title defenses did Izzy have compared to Alex Pereira? If we're talking numbers, let's work with numbers. How many title defenses did Isreal Adesanya have versus Alex Pereira? How long was Izzy the champion at middleweight compared to how long Alex was the champion in any division that he won the belt? And if you want to talk about, well, Alex was a more active champion, hey, hold your horses. Don't tell me that. Isreal Adesanya was a damn good active champion. Israel, Kamaru Usman, Alexander Volkanovski. You cannot tell me anything about how active those guys were as champions. I can't even say the same for Islam Makhachev. I certainly can't say the same for other champions. Right? Granted, in the last maybe 2 years, the most active champion was Alex Pereira. Having to fight 4 times, give or take, in a 12-month window, yes, he was definitely. But from UFC 300 down to UFC 314, yes. Alex had 3 or 4 of those pay-per-view headlines. Commendable. But he still didn't do as much title defenses like Izzy. He just did not. We have to accept it for what it is. We have to make peace with what it is. And for that reason, my good people, I'll say that Isreal Adesanya is better than Alex Pereira. I just rounded up all the things I needed to talk about. Damn, and I feel like I could talk some more, but I don't want to bore you guys. You know, keep it real. We got a lot of stuff to do. Got some editing to do on this. However, if you've been here this long and you support this channel, I thank you guys and I appreciate you guys. And I apologize for not being as regular online. I just had a lot of life stuff going on. Again, I keep saying this because I just got stuff that I have to do. I'm here now. I'm gonna keep talking about it. UFC 314 is coming up. Marvin Vettori just fought Roman Dolidze. I could not care less. I didn't watch it, guys. Vettori lost. Didn't watch it. Didn't care. Knew it was gonna be that kind of thing. I'll look out for other news and then I'll keep you guys posted. Okay? Share my reactions. Like, share, subscribe, hit the notification button, and engage in the comment sections. Peace out for Mr. TDC. Bam.